Hey, it's a crisp morning here. Not going to get higher than 50 something degrees, I think, and it's below 30 now. So lots of good college football on, including the Buckeyes playing Nebraska at noon. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a perfect day for some chili. So we're going to use the Weber Smokefire for that, hopefully impart some good smoke flavor in our chili. So let's get this day started. So the first thing we have going here, I've got 3 pounds of 80/20 ground beef that is browning or starting to brown in a cast iron skillet in the smoker. I've also got a couple of tablespoons of bacon grease there just for flavor. Can't go wrong with bacon grease, so we're going to let that go for a little bit and let it start to brown while we get our other stuff ready to go. Okay, so let's talk about the ingredients we're going to use. Before we get started with that, um, this is a kind of a competition style chili. Not that I enter chili cook-offs or anything like that, but what I mean by that is there's no diced up vegetables, no diced up peppers or onions really. I'm using spices to achieve that. Competition chili, you can't use vegetables like that. It is all liquid ingredients, ground beef, and spices. So that's sort of what I'm doing today. This is just kind of my own thing I've put together after seeing some recipes I liked, and I'm just adding kind of my own thing to it. So real quick, we'll run through what we're going to use. We're going to use some chicken broth, maybe about half of this container, which is about all that's left, and about the same for beef broth. For our big chili seasoning portion of this, I'm trying this Malcolm's chili seasoning. I've actually never tried it before. It's from the How to Barbecue Right line of products. I've heard it's good, but I've never actually tried it. We're going to use 6 tablespoons of that just based on the directions on the bottle, which is 2 tablespoons per pound of ground beef. So 6 tablespoons total, and I've already got that portioned out here in this dish. I've also got a little less than a tablespoon each, probably about a half to 3/4 of a tablespoon of onion powder and seasoning salt. I like these freeze-dried jalapenos from Lighthouse. I get them on Amazon. I've never actually seen them in the grocery store, but they actually provide some nice jalapeno flavor, and they are not too spicy. I personally like spicy things, but I'm making this chili for several people who have different tastes in spiciness levels, so people can always add some hot sauce to their own bowl of chili to make it spicy. But I am going to add these jalapenos, again, not super spicy. I've got already portioned out 1 can of Rotel, which is the tomatoes and green chilies mixed. So I've already got that ready to go. I'm also going to use some of the Killer Hogs hot sauce. Use your own favorite hot sauce here. It really doesn't matter, whatever you like. A spicier one or a less spicy one. This one has more flavor than spice. I really actually do like it. It's got a little kick to it, but it's not bad as far as spiciness. And I'm also using both chicken and beef better than bouillon product. You can use a bouillon cube if you like, but this will just add more of that rich, meaty flavor. I also have already portioned out 1 can of barbecue baked beans. They're Bush's, I believe. In fact, I know they're Bush's. I actually like baked beans in chili. When you add some spicy ingredients, the little bit of sweetness that the baked beans have actually balances that out nicely. If you're one of those who wouldn't let a bean anywhere near your chili, you do you. I happen to like some beans, and if you like a different kind of bean, use your own kind of bean here. It really doesn't matter. Again, I'm using 1 can of barbecue baked beans. And now the secret ingredient. I'm using 2 packages of Sazon Goya. It is a Mexican seasoning. The directions on the package say make your favorite recipe, don't change a thing, and add some of this. So it's actually really good. I've used it in my chili for a long time. We're going to use 2 packets of this. So that's really all the ingredients in addition to the ground beef. So we will start putting some of these together now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is mix some of our liquid ingredients together. So first thing I'm going to do is pour this chicken broth in here. Again, this is about half the box. I'm not measuring it perfectly because it really doesn't matter. I eyeball a lot of things in chili, and one of them is the amount of broth I use. So probably around 15 ounces, something like that. This is a 32-ounce container. And then we will now add our beef broth. And you're going to see we're going to do this in kind of layers. I'm a big believer in layering flavors when it comes to barbecue, and chili is no different. So we're going to add our boxes of broth. Also going to add our bouillon, or better than bouillon if you will. And I'm going to use about a tablespoon, a little less probably, of each one. And again, that's just going to add a lot of rich and meaty flavor. I'm going to use the beef one now. There we go. Okay, now that those the bouillon and the beef broth are in the Dutch oven here, I'm going to put this Dutch oven on the smoker. I won't worry about turning the camera, but we're just going to let it come to temperature. A nice simmer is what we're looking for. So I just put that straight on the grate, no lid, and we'll come back and add some other things. So we'll see in a few. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention with our ingredients today is I've got a 29-ounce can of tomato puree as well. I didn't show that, but I will be adding it at some point. So we're just going to mix our ground beef a little bit. As far as the smoker temperature right now, I've got it set to 300 and it hasn't quite reached that temperature yet. I will end up turning it down a little bit, but just to get the ground beef going and to start to get this liquid mixture mixed together, and adding, when I add the spices and all of that, I want to go a little bit warmer. So ground beef is coming along. And by the way, we'll end up draining this ground beef. I've just got a spider spatula to move the ground beef into the pot. So we're going to be sure we don't take all of that grease with it, especially since we added the bacon grease. But for now, that fat gives it flavor, and so that's a good thing. So we'll come back in a little bit, and this ground beef will be browning, and the liquid mixture will be mixing together. So we'll be back. Okay, so we're back. We'll check on our meat, and my guess is that we will add some of our spices. So let's take a look. And yep, it's coming along. By the way, I'm not going out of my way to break this meat up. A lot of it can break up when it's in the pot of chili altogether. I don't mind if some of it gets broken down, but I'm not going out of my way to crush it all right now. It'll take a lot of that moisture and flavor into the pot of chili if you sort of leave some of those bigger chunks intact. A lot of people will leave it all a lot bigger, but I don't worry about it too much. But again, just don't go out of my way to break it up very much. So to the meat, I'm going to add about half of our jalapenos, and then I'm just going to take the rest of those jalapenos and put them in our broth that we're building. I'm also going to take the seasoning salt and onion powder and get it in the beef. And before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and combine some of that. Just mix it around a little bit. And then just let it keep going. As far as the liquid goes, it's sort of a to your taste thing. Again, I don't do a lot of measuring when I make chili, but I'm always prepared to add more liquid. I try not to add too much at the beginning, although you will cook a lot of that down, so it's not that big of a deal. But in case it's not quite runny enough, I'm always prepared to add a little more tomato sauce, even water. I've added spicy V8 juice before, beer, anything like that if I need to add more liquid. Works pretty well. So the next thing I will do is I will take half of our seasoning mixture, the one we're using from Malcolm this time. And by the way, this could be anything. Some of those chili packets that you get at the grocery store, and just put enough based on the number of pounds of meat you're cooking. So whatever you want. But I'm going to do about half. Again, I don't care if it's perfect, but for now that looks good. And then I'm going to do one of our packets of Saison Goya. So just get the packet open and dump it in. And I will mix this around and start getting those spices to combine and start to dissolve. The jalapenos will reconstitute. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take our hot sauce, and again I'm using the Killer Hogs hot sauce this time, but use whatever you'd like, and I'm going to do about 10 shakes into the meat. And again, you just really want to be careful not to overdo it with that, because people can add their own hot sauce when they make their own. I'm just really doing it for flavor, and I'm using a hot sauce that isn't super spicy to begin with. Okay, I want to get this lid closed down to keep that heat in. That is all we're going to do for now. When we come back, we will be adding our rotel to the mixture and our beans, and then we'll be combining our ground beef into our pot of chili. So we'll bring you back. Okay, let's give our ground beef a stir. And we're going to go ahead and add our rotel to the broth mixture that we have. I hope the camera is showing. In fact, maybe I'll try to get it closer. But the pink hue that the meat has to it, that is not uncooked meat. That is smoked flavor. So that's a good thing. Meat is really close to being ready to be transferred. We'll probably give it just a little more time. For now, we will add our rotel. Again, that's just a can I emptied into this container for the video today, so nothing special about it. Just one of those. I think it's maybe an 8-ounce can of rotel, something like that, what I would call the normal size. I did go ahead and get the mild can again, just trying to keep this not quite as spicy as I might like it, because of the different palates that are going to be eating this. So really the only thing we have left is our tomato sauce, our beans, and our beef, and then we have one more dump of our spices. So we will come back and get all of this together and let the pot of chili start going. Okay, it's time to combine our ground beef into the rest of our chili pot. So I'm actually going to use a spider spatula to make sure we get most of the grease off of the ground beef. So I'm just going to start taking scoops of it, let it drip a little bit, I'm not worried about it being perfect, but I definitely don't want to put a lot of grease into the chili pot. So we'll just add this slowly. This pot is actually going to be pretty big, or pretty full, I should say. I think this is a 5-quart pot, maybe. I'm actually not certain. As far as your meat goes, you can use straight ground beef, which is what I'm using today, just because I happen to have 3 pounds, so it worked out fine. But if you want to use part ground beef and part ground pork, I use a lot, or even like a sausage. I've even used breakfast sausage. I think it adds a nice flavor to chili. Use venison if you want, whatever you want to do. And I like a real beefy chili. You could do this with 2 pounds of meat as well. Matter of fact, my pot might wish I would have done it with 2 pounds of meat by the time I get it all in there. But I really do like a lot of meat in my chili, so I usually use 3 pounds. Alright, getting down to the last of it here. And I would not use a lean ground beef here. It just doesn't have enough flavor. It ends up drying out. We don't want to put a lot of grease in the chili, but we don't want to use a lean ground beef, at least for my chili. And I actually forgot my spatula to stir this, so I'm going to move this pot to the center of the cooker, like that. I'm going to grab my spatula and stir this real quick, and then I'm going to close this up and leave it for at least 30 to 60 minutes and just let it sit here and simmer, reduce down, get those flavors all happy together. And so we'll bring you back here in probably 30 to 60 minutes. Okay, it's been just under an hour, so we're going to give our chili a stir and then add the last of the ingredients. Looks really good and smells good too. Cooker is actually running great, which is nice. I can't always say that about the Weber Smokefire, if I'm being honest. Okay, so we have just a couple more things to add. Again, doing it at different times to build those layers of flavor. So we're going to add our second package of Sazon Goya. There. And then we have the last half of our chili seasoning from How to Barbecue Right. So we're going to get that in there. And we'll give this a stir. And then we're going to let this simmer, maybe even come to a very slow boil for probably another hour, maybe a little less, and then we'll cover it up. But we'll give it another hour for those flavors to concentrate. And then we'll probably give it a little taste to see if we need to add anything. Because of the way I make chili with no real hard and fast recipe, I'm always prepared to add more seasoning or more liquid anytime I need to. So that's going to do it for now. We will check back. We might come back at the 30-minute mark just to give it a stir, but I'm sure this will go at least another hour before we cover it up. So we'll come back. Okay, we are probably about 2 hours into this uncovered cook, something like that, maybe a little bit longer. Simmering perfectly, just the way I wanted it. So I'm gonna give this one last stir. It's thickening up nicely from leaving it uncovered. And so I think we are gonna throw the lid on this Dutch oven, turn the temperature down, and probably let it go another hour, and then we'll taste it. It'll be ready. So we'll bring you back. Okay, so we've let this go another hour. I think it is probably really good to go. So we'll get the lid off and dish this out a little bit. And by the way, once this is covered up, you can put this in on your stove. BTUs or BTUs, as Harry Sue says. I just like cooking outside, so I left it out here. And there we go. So we'll bring you back in just a minute, and we'll give this a try. Alright, here we go. We'll give this chili a try. I've got a little dish here. Just plain. Sometimes people in the family like to add cheese or crackers. Sometimes I like crackers. I'm more of a plain chili guy though. If I made it too spicy, which I've been known to do, sour cream works pretty well to tone it down a little bit. But we're just going to have it plain here today, so let's give it a shot. I don't want to burn my mouth. That's good. Great flavor. It's got about the perfect amount of spice. I like a little bit of spice for sure. Some of the family doesn't like it too spicy, so I have to always be careful of that, but this is really good flavor. That Saison Goya seasoning adds a little something. Malcolm's seasoning, really good chili flavor. Very savory, and a lot of that comes from the chicken broth and the beef broth and the bouillon. So definitely something you can cook outside on the smoker. I am getting a little bit of smoky flavor in the beef, which is a nice touch. So make yourself some chili and make it outside. Thanks for joining me again as usual at Buckeye Barbecue. Do me a favor and like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.